What's up, party people, and welcome back to my channel. So I am so excited for today's video. I haven't been this excited about a video or a series in a really long time. So today is the first video of this new series where I'm basically putting together single shadows to create my own palette and create my own color stories. So I really just want to dig into different color stories and different moods, and just, you know, each palette gives you a different vibe because I'm in a different mood every day. You know, I want to match my clothes, I want to match the season, I want to match, you know, however I'm feeling that day. And this was inspired by several different things. Number one being Futilities More on Instagram. If you don't follow her, she's amazing. She posts different palette ideas. Like, she usually uses like non-shadows, and she just puts together her single eyeshadows and gives you an inspiration, like gives you an idea for your own palette if you want to create your own. And also the fact that I feel like the palettes that are coming out nowadays, they're so unoriginal, and I feel like if we really look deep into our pre-existing collection, we'd find shades that are similar to what's coming out. Like, I feel like everything's a replicate and a duplicate of something that's already been done before. And also the fact that I'm so used to these big 35 shadow palettes, and it's really good. It's good bang for your buck. You have a lot of variety and you can create an endless amount of looks, but I'm very indecisive. So I want it to be really broken down and simplified, because if I'm getting ready and I'm in a hurry, I usually end up using a lot more shadows when I have a bigger palette, like trying to get to the final look. So I did ask you guys in a poll in my community tab how many shadows you want me to put in these palettes, and the majority said 6. So for now, 6 is the number. With that being said, I do want to kind of teach you and kind of get you into my mindset of how I put these palettes together so that you can actually do it yourself at home with other shades and stuff, because it doesn't really help you if I just give you the answer. Like, if I don't explain how I got to the answer, it doesn't help you to just know it. And these palettes will all have a tutorial with them, so I will show you guys how I'm using the palette in action, and not necessarily using every single shade, just, you know, just giving you guys an idea of how to use the palette. So I do have a tutorial coming up with this look right here, but first I do want to get into the shadows and why I chose what I chose and all that good stuff. So here is my first creation. I'm calling this the Autumn palette. It may change. I don't really know. I'm not very creative when it comes to names and stuff. But I did use a Coastal Scents travel size palette. This is like $10 on their website. I will have that link below. And also we'll have some other websites that sell really good affordable empty palettes for you guys. Like, I know Shop Miss A has some, Colourpop has some, Morphe has some. So I will have a bunch of options down there. Do not buy Z palettes. It's just it's unnecessary now to spend $20 on a Z palette. And this was very much inspired by the Armed and Gorgeous palette from the Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. I thought that palette was so creative and just original. So as you can see, there are 3 shimmers and 3 mattes in here, and they all have a similar tone to where they're really going to coordinate well together. And the reason I have an equal amount of shimmers to mattes, because usually I do prefer there to be more mattes than shimmers, but in this case where it's a mini palette and there's only so much you can do with it, I wanted the shimmers to be interchangeable to where you could just change up your shimmer and have a different look to where you have a little bit of variety. So now let's get into why I chose what I chose and kind of where I started with this. So I wanted to start off with a shimmer, and I wanted one that was very multi-dimensional and multi-tonal to really work around it, because it's easier to pick out other shades when you have an idea of like what the tones are in one shadow, if that makes any sense. So I started off with this one right here, which is Colourpop's Tea Garden. So as you can see, it's an olive green, but it's really unique. It has like a reddish brown, kind of orange, warm undertone vibe to it. So you can do any of those shades to pair it with. So if you want to go above and beyond 6 shadows and create your own palette, but you could totally use red, brown, orange, green, whatever, because this is so multi-tonal. So obviously you have to have some kind of brown in a fall palette, and especially one that has this really pretty kind of reddish brown undertone to it. So I chose Coastal Scents Oktoberfest. So as you can see, when they're just paired right next to each other, that's a pretty look in itself. There's a lot of brown shades out there like this, so it's not unique or anything. Cocoa Bear from Makeup Geek is very similar. It's a little bit more neutral though. I wanted to pick something that was a little bit more of that like straight up orange undertone to it. So that's Oktoberfest. And obviously I had to go in with some kind of olive green, because I mean, you can't not have an olive green with that kind of shimmer. So I picked Olive Wood from Coastal Scents, which is this one right here. Some more ideas are Dirty Martini from Makeup Geek, or Team Captain from Olive Garden. What? Team Captain from Colourpop. Just any kind of olive green shade. Because again, take away this one and you got a really pretty pairing right there between Tea Garden and the olive tone from Coastal Scents, Olive Wood. Thinking of your crease shade now, thinking of a transition shade. So I was looking at the tones in this shimmer once again and trying to figure out what would be pretty with it. So for fall, because when I think of fall, I think of a mustard yellow. So I picked Paper Tiger from Colourpop. So there are a lot of mustard yellows on the market now. Pretty much every brand has one, so just whatever you want to use. But this one's a little bit deeper. It's not a straight up like neon mustard yellow or like an in-your-face mustard yellow. I feel like this one's a bit more wearable for all skin tones and stuff. Working with that shade, I decided, okay, it needs a gold. Obviously, a fall palette, you got an olive green, you got all these warm matte shades, you need a gold. So I decided to go with Vanessa's Vanity and 24 Karat. This would be the kind of gold that would be pretty on every skin tone, every eye color. It's not too in your face and it's also not too muted. I feel like this is the perfect kind of shade. And again, you take out this other shimmer and you've got a pretty look right there. If you just want to do the gold on the lid, that mustard yellow in the crease, there's one. Gold on the eyelid, Oktoberfest, that warm brown in the outer V. There's another one. So, you know, again, interchanging the shimmers to create a different look each time. So something that I thought the Armed and Gorgeous palette was missing was a white gold. So I decided to go with Makeup Geek's Voltage. So this is a really pretty, I think it's a duochrome, but it's just a white gold, and it can pick up more white sometimes depending on the lighting. It can pick up more gold. It just kind of depends on what you're wearing, you know, the lighting, the angle, all that stuff. So that is Voltage, and there are a lot of shades like this on the market. I know Colourpop has one that looks just like this one. Pretty much every brand, every indie brand, every, you know, good affordable brand has a good white gold. So this is my palette. No brow bone highlight, no skin tone kind of shade. I didn't want to waste any space that we could use for color. So, you know, use whatever you have that works for you. So I will have all these shadows linked below and also different palettes you can check out that are more affordable. You could totally get small palettes like this and have a different color story per palette, or you could get a regular size palette and just kind of section it off and just kind of like have little blocks of different color stories. So if you guys want to see how I put it in action and create the look that I'm wearing right now, then please keep watching. Okay guys, so I'm ready to go. I'm so excited. So I did go ahead and prime my eyes with the Essence I Love Stage eyeshadow base. It will be linked below. And I did go ahead and set it with my favorite brow bone slash skin tone kind of setting combination. So like I said in the beginning, these palettes will not include a brow bone highlight or like a skin tone kind of shade, just because that will differ between each person, and you know, I don't want it to take up space that we could use for color. So my favorite combination for setting my primer down and also as a brow bone highlight is Coastal Scent Chamois Nude. As you can see, it's been loved for quite a while, and Colourpop's Hear Me Out right next to it. So Hear Me Out's a bit more vivid, it's more in your face and very, very brightening. So I use Chamois Nude to kind of tone it down a little bit and kind of bring it back down to earth. So I'm first going to Colourpop's Paper Tiger, which is that really pretty kind of deeper mustard yellow. And I'm going to use this as my transition shade. I'm using that on a Cara Beauty K17 brush. It's a really big, fluffy brush. I'm actually not using my e.l.f. Line and Define eye tape today, so it's going to be kind of hard. I'm really just going to softly diffuse this in the crease from the inner to the outer corner. And this is really going to set the stage for all the shadows, because all the shadows have that kind of goldish, yellowish undertone. So this is what's going to really coordinate it all together and kind of tie it all in. So the first place I lay my brush when I pick up product is right here in the outer socket of the crease, like the outer portion of the crease right here. And then you can blend it down into your outer V, you can blend it over, because I want this area right here to be the deepest, like have the most depth and dimension, because I do have slightly hooded eyes, or like, I guess it may be extra skin. I've got some kind of hoodedness going on right here, so I want that area to be the push back the most. So I really just build up the shadow right there in the outer portion and then blend it in, so that's just a little bit softer and easier to diffuse. Let's see, I think I'm gonna go into Oktoberfest, and I had a little mishap last night where it fell and cracked and busted, so I had to fix it. So it's a little ugly, but as you can see, it's just a really pretty warm terracotta kind of brown. It does have that kind of yellowish undertone to it where it's warm. Take that on a Morphe M514 brush. I'm really just focusing this in the outer socket of the crease and the outer V. And you can blend this in if you want. I'm gonna blend it in just slightly after I have most of the product off my brush. I'm just gonna slightly blend it inward. So now I'm gonna go into Olive Wood, which is that really pretty olive green. I'm just gonna put this in the outer V. I'm not gonna drag it as far in as we did Oktoberfest. And you can build this up as little or as much as you want. If you really want to see it, just build it up. But if not, just keep it light, and it'll just kind of give you a hint of color. So now I'm gonna go into Tea Garden from Colourpop, which is that really pretty multi-dimensional olive green shadow. I'm gonna use a flat shadow brush. This is from, I think this was like a knockoff Urban Decay brush or something like that. It's just a flat shader brush like that. So I packed it on there. I'm gonna spray my brush. You can use any setting spray. So I'm gonna pack this on from the inner corner to about the center and going up to kind of kiss the socket of the crease. You can bring this all the way outward if you want, like if you want to bring it all the way to the very edge of your eye. I'm not gonna do that. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna kind of slightly touch that olive green shade. And where this is a really flat brush, you can use any kind of flat brush, but where it's really flat, you can really kind of round out your crease to where it kind of gives you the effect of a cut crease, like it gives you the cleanliness of a cut crease. So I'm gonna go back in with that brush I used for the olive green shade. And by the way, this is the Coastal Scents BR250. I think this is called the Blending Fluff or something like that. I don't know why it's not on there, but I'm just gonna go back in with a little bit of product and just touch up the outer V right here. I'm just gonna stamp it and then kind of fluff it inward to meet that shimmer shade. So there's what we got so far. So going back in with that Oktoberfest shade, that same brush, I'm just gonna get a little bit on the tip. And this is just part of the blending process. I know it's very repetitive and stuff, and a lot of people cut this out of their videos, but I feel like it's important to show you every step, or at least tell you what I'm doing. So after about every shade, I go back in with the previous brush or the previous shadow that I used and touch it up, because I really wanna make sure that every shade is showing up. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna raise my brow a little bit because it gives me more eyelid space, and just put it right back in there. Because obviously when you're blending and you're adding shimmer and messing with it, it is gonna get a little messed up. And the same thing with that mustard shade, just a little bit on the tip of the brush. And I'm gonna hold my brush up higher like this, because if I hold it down, it's gonna blend it downward. It's gonna mess with the shades that we just fixed. So it's kind of defeating the purpose. So if you hold it up higher, it's just gonna be blending where you want it to be and also a little bit higher. And if we go higher, that's fine, we can fix it. Hopefully that makes sense. I learned this from the makeup chair. So I'm just going to very slowly touch up that mustard, and I'm going all the way in. So really just rounding everything off and kind of haloing it around so that you see it peeking out at the very top. I'm gonna go into Voltage from Makeup Geek, which is that really pretty shimmery white gold. So I'm gonna use this as my inner corner highlight. You can wet the brush. Let's go ahead and wet it just for funsies. It kind of has like a greenish vibe to it. Like, it sounds kind of weird, but it's gonna tie into the overall theme. And again, you can use any white gold shade or any kind of like gold undertone shadow, like a gold champagne or something like that. Alrighty, so that is it for the main part. So I'm gonna go off camera and finish up my brows, liner, mascara, the full face, and I'll come back and show you how we're gonna do the lower lashes. So we're gonna do pretty much the exact same thing on the lower lash line as we did on the top in pretty much the same order. So I'm gonna start off by blending that mustard yellow shade along the lower lash line again to tie into the top. And I'm going to use a smaller brush for this. And one of my new favorite brushes for the lower lash line, or for just, you know, really precise work, is the Morphe M507 brush. I'm hesitating because there's another one that looks just like it. I'm trying to figure out which one is which. Okay. Yeah, the M507 and the 506 look just the same. So here is the 507, and it's just like a smaller version of a crease brush. So I'm going to take that, and this is going to be the softest color. So we're starting off, and this is where it's going to be the lightest color and the softest. We want this to be the most blown out. So it's again going to be like our peekaboo shade, you know, the same way it is on the top. I didn't do a brow bone highlight. I need to do that. So for my brow bone highlight, I'm going to do the exact same combination that I used earlier with Colourpop's Hear Me Out and Coastal Scent Chamois Nude. So I'm going to drag this all under. Now I will say, if you have fair skin, be careful with mustard yellow shades because they can make you look a little sickly. So just kind of play around with the tones and stuff. Just pay attention to how it makes your overall complexion look. And this brush is really, really good for precision work on the upper eyelid as well, especially if you have small eyes or hooded eyes or something, and you know, you can't go back on the brush like this big old mamma jamma, which is big and fluffy. We're gonna call this big fluffy. So if you went with big fluffy and you have really small eyes, it's gonna be hard to be precise. But if you went with something like this that's really tiny, then you can really work on adding that color back in and not having it go everywhere. I'm going to take a little bit of that mustard shade and do just that. I'm just going to kind of touch up the outer crease because without that tape, I just don't bring out my eyeshadow far enough, and it just kind of like abruptly stops. So this is really good for kind of touching up a little bit. So now I'm gonna go into Oktoberfest. I'm gonna take, let's do 506. It's just a tiny bit less fluffy, a little bit more dense than the other one. And gonna get a little bit on the tip, tap off the excess, and as we get darker and darker and as we move up with the shades, we're just gonna get tighter and tighter to the lash line. So I'm going to basically act like you're lining the lash line with this. So I'm gonna go all the way in, and I'm not blending it down as far as the mustard yellow, because again, we want that mustard yellow to show. It's gonna be like a peekaboo shade. I like that. That's what I'm gonna start calling it, a peekaboo shade. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into Olive Wood, which is the dark olive green, and let's take a really tiny brush for this. Let's take the E36 from Morphe. It's a really tiny little bullet brush. I'm just gonna keep this on the outer portion, like just like the outer half or the outer third of the lower lashes, and keeping it really, really tight this time, almost to the point of being in the waterline. So there's that. I'm gonna go back over that brush I used for, I guess it doesn't really matter, you could use the brush that you used for the mustard yellow or the brown. I'm gonna do the one that I used for the brown and blend all around that. And that is it. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna show you guys how I do my brow bone highlight, because I'm trying to make these tutorials as informational as possible. So I take my brow bone highlight on some kind of angled brush. It has to have a little peak to it. So this is the Carity Cosmetics E27 brush. So it has a little peak, as you can see. And I just get a little Chamois Nude, a little bit of Hear Me Out, and just go back and forth, tap off the excess. This is really gonna make everything look a lot cleaner, a lot more neat and kempt. What I wanna do now that I actually have it placed and I have the brightness that I want and the intensity, I'm gonna turn the brush vertical. So this is where the whole peak thing comes in hand, where it's angled. So I'm gonna turn it vertical to where the peak's on the bottom. And basically just wiggle it and feather it very, very lightly, right basically on the border of the brow bone highlight and the very top crease shade. And what it's going to do is just help fade it a little bit better, to where if you went a little too hard, like if you went a little too hand with your crease shade, it doesn't look as light as you'd like it. It just kind of lightens that very top portion of it. You can also hold it horizontal and just feather it down, just kind of like fluff it down like this. Just, you know what I mean? Like just flake it down, I guess you could say. This side just looks a lot more put together. It looks a lot more cleaned up, and this is just a necessity. This is something I do with every single look, and that's why these two shades are my favorite, because they're so brightening and they just do the trick so well. So if you have to go back in with any of the shades, you totally can. I'm gonna go back in with that Voltage shade, which is that white gold, and just kind of touch up right there, because I did have to clean out my inner corner a little bit. It just gets so dirty. We're gonna have to clean it out again. Why is it so gross? But I'm also gonna kind of drag this right there to the very, very inner little outer V or inner V of the lower lash line, to where it connects. And then I also like to feather it up into the eyelid shade to where it doesn't look too blocky. But that is the look, and I am really, really digging it. It looks so seasonal. It's so pretty for fall. And again, there's a lot of variety that you can do with this little 6-pan palette. I feel like I was like in the labs formulating this and like putting the shadows together, like I was working with a brand or something. Like, I'm getting a little too emotional about this. So yeah, there is palette number 1. What other color stories you guys want to see? What kind of schemes and, you know, different themes do you want to see with the palettes? I definitely have a lot in my vault up here. So let me know your ideas in the comments below. But thank you all so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and comment below #partypeople when you do that. And I will see you guys in my next one. Mwah.